Good morning, Warrington. We're here today again at Warrington Town Hall for our annual festive catch-up with the Chief Executive of Warrington Borough Council, Professor Stephen Brume. Good morning, Stephen.
Morning, Gary. Hi.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Warming up from the cold weather last week, and I'm fine.
These have been an annual tradition of ours for many years. I think we might have missed one due to COVID, but for many years now we've had these annual catch-ups.
I think nearly 20 years.
Yeah, not live on Facebook for 20 years, but we've been doing these catch-ups on a regular basis. Obviously a lot's happened in 20 years, but let's focus on the last 12 months. I'm here again asking the first question I always ask: council accounts still not signed off?
No, but no, through no fault of the council, Gary, for 17-18. That's a national issue regarding the valuation of infrastructure assets. Every council that's in a position has their assets to be valued and then signed off by the auditors. And once that's been completed, the rest of the accounts are ready for the sign off. And then we're on with 18, 19, 20, 2021. And we're making really good progress on those things. I mean, obviously your viewers won't understand why this is the case. It's like a black mark against the council. I mean, I clearly wish all the council accounts were signed off. Is there anything wrong or hidden in the accounts? It's somewhat troublesome. The answer is no to that.
What is actually causing the delay now? What is this national issue?
Well, the government, through National Audit Office, decided they want an evaluation of all the infrastructure assets belonging to individual councils. That's quite a big job. Every road, every bridge, every piece of equipment, and that has to be done and completed. We've had the guidance for it, and we're working on it alongside every other council in the country.
And have you got any time scale? How long it's going to take before it is signed?
Well, I've advised that will be done during the early part of 2023, Gary. But we emphasise there's nothing hidden in our accounts that's wrong, troublesome, difficult. If you don't believe me, ask our auditors.
So hopefully by the time we have our annual catch-up next year, hopefully we're both still here.
Well, Gary,
I won't have to ask you this question ever again.
When they are signed off, I'll be pleased to let you know. You'll be one of the first to know.
Perhaps we'll do a special live broadcast that day when we can announce what the signed off.
Yes, that's right.
Because, how many years are we talking about now waiting for this to be signed off?
Nearly 5 years.
Nearly 5 years, right. I mean, okay, that's been an ongoing issue. One of the hot potatoes which has cropped up this year, which I have to say, in all the years I've covered this town as a journalist, which is over 40 years now. I know I don't look old enough, but it is over 40 years. The low traffic neighbourhood schemes. I mean, I've been inundated with people complaining about it. The protests, you've seen them yourself, they're ongoing. There's a lot of upset people out there. And to me, I'm a local resident as well who travels on your roads and highways. I always try and have a common sense approach to life. Putting a planter in the middle of Grange Avenue doesn't resolve traffic issues.
No, it won't resolve traffic issues for you, Gary, if you're running through Grange Avenue. You don't live in Grange Avenue.
I don't go down Grange Avenue.
The reason why the word is local is in the scheme. But let's remember, please, this was a government idea that was put to us along with a number of other councils. We went into extensive consultation about those two schemes, the one in Westy and the one in Alford. And following consultation in Alford, we decided to wait a while. We're going to have a further consultation in Westy, and the second piece of consultation, we make significant changes. And why is so many people bothered about it, Gary? It's not the people who live in Westy. It's the people who for years and years have run through Westy to get between the two main roads. And they're the people who've been making all the noise. Numbers of people at the protest events, Gary, have fallen quite dramatically. Yes, it may have been the weather, but we are prepared to listen to people. We have done that by making changes in Westy. But if we were to remove the planters, bring those plant pots, as you referred to, it will actually just put traffic back there, and it will defeat the whole objective, which is about a safer place, a cleaner place from an air quality point of view in Westy.
I don't use Grange Avenue. I don't use it as a rat run. But to get to my office and to get from South Warrington into the centre of town, I have to come through Latchford. And the whole of Latchford comes to a standstill every time there's an accident on the motorway, every time there's any incident. and it is
Well,
total chaos.
You'll be blaming for the bad weather soon. You know, when there's an accident on the motorway, we don't control that. Yeah, and yes, you know, there are issues about traffic congestion in the town, but go to central Manchester, go to central Leeds, you know, go to any major city. They've got traffic congestion, which is why we've been working hard around redesigning traffic around the town and encouraging people to get out of their car. That's why we own the bus company garage, which I think we're going to talk about in a moment.
Deflecting away there maybe, but
No, I'll explain it.
yeah,
I'm not
but
deflecting anything away.
no, but I come into town probably once or twice a week now because I've decided to work from home to avoid the traffic issues. But every time I come into town, I get stuck in traffic, whether there's a delay on the motorway, whether there's roadworks going on, and I don't see the logic in blocking a main artery, which, all right, you say it's a rat run, but I know a lot of local residents, because they're getting on to me about it, aren't happy, and they don't feel as though the council listens to them.
Oh, we do listen. That's why we've made changes to the scheme. In Westy, we're not unblocking Grange Avenue. We're not prepared to do that at this stage. But I get as many complaints and concerns, both verbally and in my mailbox, that you do, Gary. So we do listen, you know. And I repeat, this town is a busy town. It's a busy town economically, that generates transport. You know, a lot of more cars. We're doing our best to get people out of the car, onto the rail, onto the bus. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, people are always going to complain about if their journey is going to get held up by a couple of minutes. It is annoying, you know, I face that as well as you, Gary. But it's a consequence of having a town that's economically very, very busy. What would you prefer?
Obviously, we want a busy town, but I just feel that when changes are made, that they don't improve situations.
Everybody's a traffic engineer, aren't they, Gary?
I'm not.
Well, it sounds as though you are. You seem to have your own solutions for it. Everybody has their own solutions. Some of the solutions are not easy to implement without a lot of investment and a lot of. We'd like to have an expressway built. Yeah? We'd like the Western Link to come forward.
And what has happened to the Western Link?
It's still under active consideration. Still in the Department of Transport's plans to move it forward. We're looking at the affordability of it at the moment because of construction inflation, but it's still there. You see, that scheme has been opposed by a lot of people, and that would have exactly the impact and effect you said you wanted, getting traffic out of the town centre. But when you put forward a scheme, they'll come out with placards saying you shouldn't do that. You just can't win sometimes, can you?
No, you can't. It's not an easy job. I haven't said it is.
No.
And the main problem is encouraging people to get out of the cars.
Absolutely.
And that's changing people's habits, and that takes a long time. You touched on the bus situation. I mean, today the government have launched a new scheme where they're capping bus fares at £2. So how are you actively, as a council, going to encourage people to get on the buses now and take advantage of that?
Well, first of all, we're pleased we own our own bus company, and it's a bus company we're really proud of, and wanting more people to use the buses. But you say, psychologically, you have to make the shift. And you've got to have more frequent, more reliable buses, and that's what we're intended to do. So the £2 flat fare, which I think applies to the 130 bus companies in the country, will be introduced early in the new year. We'll publicise that. We'll encourage people to use the buses more. As you know, we'll be switching over the next 2 years away from diesel-powered buses to more electric buses, and we're pleased that the government supported the Zebra scheme, as it's known, in order to help with the funding with those buses. But at the end of the day, people have to make the modal shift. I do it. I use the rail. I use the bus if I can. I try not to use the car. I have a car. I've got a hybrid car. I'm doing my bit. But it takes time for people to do that. For some people, they can't afford to make that shift easily. But the £2 bus flat fare will hopefully make a bit of a difference.
I mean, I've mentioned to you before, and one of the things going on a lot is the council are very often critical of the government for not giving enough money and cutting the amount of money they give to councils. But on the other hand, we see the government giving money, levelling up money, bus money to councils like Warrington Borough Council, but you don't seem to appreciate when the government give you money.
Well, I'm the council chief executive, I'm not a politician, am I? I would say, as the chief executive, I'm very pleased and grateful for the government's support for a number of schemes in the town, the new bus depot, the Zebra buses, the flat fare scheme, and lots of other monies that have come last year. One of the difficulties we have, when you win a prize for the government, you tend to win half a prize. So the Zebra scheme, I think we've won £28 million. We have to find another £28 million in order to make it work. And the only way we can do that is through council borrowing. And some of your readers write to me regularly about council borrowing and debt. So government have been very good, but you also have to find some of the money yourselves as a council. Sometimes people don't understand that. And they might get to a situation at some point where the government's grateful support can't be taken by us because we can't afford to match the money that they've offered us.
I mean, you mentioned the council debt there. What is the current state of the council's debt on borrowing?
Stable.
As in the figure?
Well, the figures are roughly £1.8 billion, but the assets, Gary, are worth more than the borrowing. Just think of it as a mortgage. That's the best way to look at it. And lots of your readers writing about this and go on various websites raising these issues. I wish people would understand the facts before they all become amateur members of the city. Our council debt is secured and it's stable.
But it doesn't help people have trust in what the council's doing when we see national newspapers request freedom of information into council borrowing, particularly to Matthew Moulding and the Hook Group, and asking these awkward questions that they have to put freedom of information request in, and then it takes a long time for the council to give a 3 or 4 line response to these requests.
That's because, Gary, these are commercial arrangements made. If you were taking a loan from us, Gary, and the press came about that, you would expect, as the person who received the loan, actually to have some say in that. So these things have to go through a legal process, they're commercial. Now, regarding the Hook Group, the loan was made in an absolutely proper way. It was very clear at the meeting what the loan was there for, what it was secured against, what the level of debt was going to be with the Hook Group. The fact that Matthew Moulding is a rather infamous figure in the city, yes, and he is, and some people in the city of London don't like Matthew Moulding, but also recognise he's built an enormous business, the Hook Group, in a very successful way. All that gets into the mix, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that loan that was made. And the Financial Times can spin it however they like. That loan was made absolutely properly. The members were aware when they were agreeing it, what the loan was, what it was secured against, and the fact it was actually a really good piece of business for this council.
But do you understand why people get concerns and have trust issues when they see all this going on?
You say people, just a few people, Gary, have these concerns. These are people who take a rather amateur or an informed view about these issues. If they want to get into all that, that's fine. Rather than watch rugby league and get involved in all the details around Matt Moulding's business interests and the holdings of the Hook Group. But from a council point of view, I assure you and your readers it was done absolutely properly. Like all the other loans that we've done in the last 3 or 4 years. And the reason we do that is we go back to the government. The government, despite their largesse in terms of these individual grants that they've offered us, and which for us, I repeat, we're very pleased about, they don't properly fund the council. We don't have enough money for social care. And that's the reason why we've had to go into these commercial initiatives to raise money for the frontline service to keep them going. And that raises every year £22 million. That's an multiple figure for anyone else to see where that £22 million, where did that money come from? It wasn't there. Which services would you cut? Which services would you reduce? That's when people will start to moan big time,
So the level of borrowing up at 1.8 billion, are we actually going to see that continue to increase, or can we look forward to it starting to decrease?
Well, it depends on the economy and the market, and what your interest rates are. I mean, the days have gone now, Gary. Money's cheap. Money's not going to be cheap anymore. Interest rates have gone up and may climb again next year. As a council, we're part of that as well. We don't ignore the market conditions that we have to operate in. So the answer is I don't know. But I do think that council borrowing against bigger projects is likely to be less than more going forward because of changes in the market.
But your borrowing rates are capped, aren't they? They won't go up. The money you've borrowed, are they capped?
They are capped to the rate of when you borrow, but the rate you borrow now is more than it was, say, 3 years ago.
But the money you've previously borrowed, you're not going to see huge hikes in that interest payment.
No.
Right, well, we're heading towards a new year. Let's try and be positive, look into the
I'm always
future.
positive.
I know you're
I'm
always positive.
also very realistic as well.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, it's good that you give up your time to explain the issues that the town is facing. And, you know, it is appreciated. But as you know, I'm always here to try and be your critical friend as well. But my passion's Warrington, your passion's Warrington. So we are on the same team, even though we don't always agree on everything. So, you know, people are going through really tough times at the moment. Cost of living crisis is just going through the roof. There can be hardly anyone who's not feeling it with the increase in fuel costs at home, increase in food. The food banks have never been so busy. We've got nurses and people who are working in good careers that are having to use food banks, or the strike actions that are going on. We go into the new year. What can you be positive about as a council that can sort of lift our spirits a little?
Well, back to what I said earlier, we are a town that's economically successful. People like doing business in Warrington. There's investment coming into Warrington all of the time, and that generates reasonable wages and generates obviously jobs. I see that continuing very, very well. We're a town that is known to be successful, very successful when it comes to inward investment. So all those things I think we've got going for us. We're also a town of partnerships. You know, we do things well together. We celebrate our achievements well. When we have difficulties, we talk about them. You know, I don't hide away, Gary, and you don't hide away from reporting me not hiding away. So, you know, we are, despite what two people would say, I think we're very open and honest about the way we do business here in Warrington. It isn't going to be easy for people. You know, the council's trying to help people with signposting where they can get support and advice. The council tax issue, we have the opportunity, if we wish to raise the council tax by up to 5% from April of next year. The council's not decided what it's doing about that. There's 5% on what is now just over 10% inflation is difficult for people. On the other hand, we're hit as a council by the additional cost of services is also risen by inflation. So we have to think about our own financial position as well. But overall, Gary, I think it's going to be a challenging year. The cost of living, energy prices in particular, are going to be the ones that people think about. Lots of people now managing their homes in a different way from an energy point of view. But you know, we have a history here of riding recessions well in this town, partly because we're the way we're structured economically, and plus, I would say we've got a council that likes to get things done.
Right, well, I'm sure by now there's a few people there thinking the elf might be better in charge of the council or a better editor of a magazine or website, but we always generally chat about the other hat you wear in the town. You're deputy chairman of Warrington Wolves still. Last year was probably one of the worst seasons in living memory for a lot of people. As a Warrington Wolves fan, how can we look forward to the year ahead?
We've made significant investments during the close season with a number of very important and key signings. The team is a bit light in weight terms last year. We've gone from a team that was light to a team now of heavyweights in terms of the forwards. The spirit of the camp is very different from what it was a year ago. I think the truth be told, change needs to be made. And Darryl Power, we've stuck with Darryl Power. He's a great coach. We honoured his contract, and we all as a board just wanted him and his team to succeed. So I think it's going to be better times ahead for the Y this year. And I think, you know, we're definitely going to win one, if not two pieces of silverware.
That confident.
Yeah, that confident.
But it's always our year, Stephen.
It's always our year, and last year was terrible. Yeah, there were lots of reasons that conspired together for that to be the case. And I think we've got to put on, you know, fast-flowing, entertaining rugby. Because again, the rugby club's going to be hit by the cost of living.
Well, I was just going to say that. How are you going to get fans back in the ground?
We're offering more and more free tickets to kids, more incentive to younger people who can watch the game. You know, that season ticket prices we're not putting up in terms of what cost of inflation is. And we're wanting, you know, to stick with our fans who stuck by us through thick and thin, and it was thin last year. So overall, I think we can look forward to a really exciting year of rugby league.
Well, you've heard it here first. Warrington Wolves are going to win at least one trophy, if not two, next season.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's right, because it's certainly, I know, getting to Wembley and things like that and winning trophies does lift spirits in the town, and it's going to be a tough year. So
it's all linked to the happiness quotient. If the Wire are doing well, the town feels better. There's no
feels factor,
no scientific evidence for that, but it is a fact. And the rugby club is just part of a whole range of sports we've got in the town. Now we've got two up-and-coming football teams, Rowlands and Warrington Town. That's really good to see as well. And it's good to see sport being played on a much more inclusive basis. I mean, last year we hosted the Physical Disability World Cup at Victoria Park. There's lots of things to look forward to next year, Gary. The weekender again, for 2 nights. This is a town that's got a lot going for it. There's a lot of vibrancy in the town. And sometimes, Gary, I know your readers and your viewers express other views and so on, but this town is doing well.
Yes, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we might even be able to look forward to a new hospital.
We may do, and we're making good progress. It's not through lack of effort by both MPs, actually, to get us a new hospital. So our current hospital is just not fit for purpose for a growing population. And, it's something we've been working really hard, but it's very, very difficult to make a reasoned case, and sometimes reason doesn't come into it, Gary. It's about a political decision that's made somewhere in the darker corners of government.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, Stephen. I think we've covered a lot of things there, and I look forward to catching up with you in the new year, and hopefully see the council account signed off at long last. And when we catch up next year, hopefully we can see a lot more positive things on the horizon.
Yeah, Gary, thanks very much for being a really good friend for over nearly 30 years now, I think.
It is, yes.
And you've helped me make some of the decisions I've made, and you report things in a fair and clear manner. I'd like to thank you for that. And sometimes some of the things that you write I disagree with. We have the sort of relationship. I have this like some of your readers actually, where we can agree to disagree. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Particularly in John Mine, which is all about democracy.
Yes. No, it's always important to try and work together, even if you can't agree on everything, for the good of Warrington.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas, Gary. Merry Christmas, everyone who Warrington worldwide.
Okay. Cheers, Stephen. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.